So, just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This video is protected under fair use laws, and it is protected because it is about the Oceanliner that Kimba himself was born on, and of course the real ship that I think inspired it. This is going to be the first installment of a new series where I try and follow the paw steps that our beloved Emperor Leo took, simply for the sake of just having fun, and yeah. I'm also not Bud from Kimber's Kingdom, nor am I trying to replace him. Seriously, go check his channel out. I know he's not making videos anymore, but his content's worth a check, and he's part of my inspiration for doing this project, other than I'm a historian for History Inside of a Nutshell as well. Anyway, now that this has taken longer than it should have, if you enjoy the video, do hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications when the next part is up. Let's get into the video. So, getting into this, the photo you're looking at right now is of a German cruise ship that was built under Nazi Germany known as the Wilhelm Gustloff. I initially suspected this was the vessel that Kimba could have been born on, but I ran into a couple problems in that, one, the Gustloff sank in the Baltic, which isn't connected to Africa. Two, the Gustloff was torpedoed several times, and the ship in Kimba sank due to a storm. Three, the ship only has one funnel, whereas the one in the show has two. Anyway, if you want to learn more about the Gustloff, I would suggest looking at my channel friends at History Inside of a Nutshell. I do pop in there sometimes as a narrator, but after finding the ship that Kimba wasn't born on, I ended up learning about a different context clue in a different episode. So, me and some friends were watching episode 5 titled Fair Game, and that's going to have an episode all about itself. All you need to know is that I did a lot of research here in hunting down the Paris World's Fair that Kemba went to because I had known that it had to be prior to. And the problem with the website you're seeing here is that it only showed it to 1937, so I went to Wikipedia. And you'll see I highlighted every Paris World's Fair as shown, just about. And I made an interesting discovery that I'm pretty sure the last Paris World's Fair to date was actually in 1947. Now, you'll see 1900 one, obviously. The 1937 one is also on this list that Wikipedia has, and that was the last one on the other website, which will be linked as well. But this one interests me in that, yeah, it's 1947, so the ship had to have sank before then, which the Gustloff did, but we know it's not her for obvious reasons now. Though, yeah. Also, another reason I know this is the right World's Fair, other than it being the last one, is the subject is the same as episode 5's, essentially. I also find it kind of funny, of course, after scrolling through and checking to double check if it was the last one. Fun fact, in 1992, my hometown got a version of the World's Fair, which is funny. But, yeah, the topic of this World's Fair was basically the same as it was in episode 5, and it's funny that even South Africa attended as well. So, little details are kind of important. But, yeah, so now we have a year. Let's get on to the other part of the research. Now that we have a proper era and date range, let's take a look at shipping company. Here in front of us we have funnel colors for various companies on the Atlantic, and of course, most notably, I see a Cunard line funnel here. And with this, with a shot here in the show, you can see the funnel lines up basically perfectly with the Cunard line ship. I'll show Aquitania as an example, but then we move on to searching a Cunard shipwrecks website. So I found various problems, but let's do some ships first to show. The Alania, for example, the first one, she sank because of a sea mine in 1916. That's one, way too early. Two, it's not a storm. Then we move on to the, I'm pretty sure I looked at the Malta there. No, I did not look at Malta. I do these voiceovers after, but yeah, I guess I did look at Malta, but you see, she sank way too early as well, and of course, she ran aground, but years way too early. You look at Campania. She also sank for the wrong reason and significantly too early, which isn't useful. Most of these Cunard ships, as we see, went down in like World War One, so that's a problem, or earlier. Then you have the Feltria, which was sunk by a U-boat again, wrong sinking reason. You have the Folia, which also was torpedoed. And obviously we know it's not the Lusitania because she was torpedoed and of course she has 4 funnels, whereas the ship in question has only 2, but that's beside the point. So with Cunard line out of the way, we have to go back to the funnel chart. Now, looking again at funnel colors, I notice there's a frame that looks a little like Scandinavian line, shown here, though it also looks a little like the ship from Tugs. Anyway, as we get onwards, looking through Scandinavian American lines, the company went under in 1935 or so, by the looks of it. At least under that name, so there's absolutely no way it could be that company. And now we have to go back to the funnel chart again, where I decided to look at the French line based off of this one funnel shot here that looks like the French line, and going through it, holy crap, this is a long article for one, and ooh, maritime disasters as its own subsection. Let's look through. And interesting, what is this I see? A ship was lost due to a storm. The Lamoriciere, if I'm pronouncing that right. I might be butchering the name, but it seems we just found an exact ship that Kimba was born on. As this map shows, the ship departed from Algiers in Algeria to Marseille in France on the night of January 6, 1942, and the La Massiere here was a 156-meter long Oceanliner built in 1920 for the French line. And her story is quite bizarre, as during this voyage in, of course, Kimba was born on the ship, which I don't think we have documentation of happening IRL, but creative liberties happen in these shows. But the ship was carrying 172 passengers and 122 crew members when it departed. And during the voyage, the ship would end up getting a distress call from a cargo ship known as the Jumièges, which was going down on the evening of the 7th and would end up sinking because of a strong storm. Now, of course, somewhere between this distress call and when the ship gets to that location, our protagonist Kimba would jump off the ship to swim to Africa, essentially. And we'll follow his paw steps in the next installment, as now we're going to talk about the fate of this ship and how it matches the show. Also, there's a poetic irony that the ship would sink going to rescue another vessel, considering that's the same personality Kimba himself has. He's the type to harm himself even if it, saves others. Well, especially if it saves others. But as the ship was going towards the Balearic Islands where the Jumièges went down, the ship ended up sinking in the storm. Now, it's actually very interesting that this ship's sinking is still a bit of a mystery. There's actually a photo of the sinking that exists, which I'm showing this video. But the ship ended up sinking with approximately 301 or 307 victims, give or take, somewhere around that range. And there's a lot of mystery still, because There's like talk of cargo hold doors that were leaking and the like. There's talk of the ship developing a heavy list before she capsized. There's like, yeah, some people attribute that the ship was burning coal instead of the oil she was built to. Yeah, she was built as an oil burner and converted to a coal burner. Fun fact. Some people contribute that to the sinking, but there's a lot of mystery behind it. Her wreck, of course, was found in 2008. And we do know of, at least in the anime Kimba, there's at least two known survivors, being Mr. Hameg himself and our loving protagonist Kimba. But it's interesting. I'll be linking a lot of my resources down below, of course, since there's a lot of mystery about this ship that I can't give a comprehensive answer as to why it sank, other than it sank during a storm. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, especially if you want to see the next part. Thank you. Right, so I was told to check Craig Anderson's website about Kimba the White Lion because it talks about how they made the show. So that's exactly what I'm doing now, is looking at the show history, because it gives some information on location and a possible idea of a different ship that contradicts my idea. So let's look under background here, or plan, or whole story is probably the right place to look. Interesting. It mentions the Atlantic Ocean. Wait a second. It mentions the Atlantic Ocean and that he landed in Portugal? Wait a second. The Atlantic Ocean. Wait. Why is that familiar? Wait. Oh no. The funnels do seem to bear a similarity to the Collins Line house marking in this one shot, but Collins Line went under in the 1850s after US government subsidy was cut. We also have the fact that the ship looks a little like, structurally like White Star's MV Britannic, which was 3rd Britannic, or even the Georgic. Are we saying that Collins Line still existed in this timeline? Because if so, does that mean Titanic never sank in the Kemba universe? What?